Well, last but certainly not least, I am very excited to announce our final speaker of the day. I am incredibly honored to have her joining us this afternoon. Dr. Soyeon Yi is South Korea's first and only astronaut. She was selected as an astronaut in December 26, 2006, out of 36,000 contestants vying for the title of South Korea's first astronaut. On April 8, 2008, she launched into space on board Soyuz TMA-12. During her 11-day mission at the International Space Station, Dr. Yi completed an aggressive number of experiments contributing to South Korea's science textbooks and science channel television networks. During her historic return to Earth on April 19th, 2008, she survived a force of nearly 16 G upon ballistic re-entry. Due to re-entry complications, the first to welcome her to her return to Earth were nomads in the plains of Kazakhstan. Dr. E received her Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, and Ph.D. from the Korean Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Her Ph.D. thesis is DNA separation chips using temporal asymmetric ratchet effect in non-uniform E-Fields. So, basic stuff. As if this wasn't impressive enough, in May of 2014, she received her MBA with an emphasis on technology and global leadership at the Haas School of Business, University of California, Berkeley. Currently, Dr. E is working at Studio XID, developing digital prototyping softwares as the global business lead, and with Silicon Valley-based satellite startup Loft Orbital Solutions, leading their strategic business development and international partnerships. Dr. E is passionate about nurturing the next generation of leaders in STEM, and not only volunteers for various nonprofits as an inspirational speaker, but also lectures at the University of Washington and local community colleges. I met Dr. E through the Brooke Owens Fellowship, an incredible program that provides opportunities in the aerospace industry for women and gender minority undergraduates. The Brooke Owens Fellowship is open to any college students anywhere in the world, and it's something that I highly encourage folks to learn more about. Dr. E generously volunteers her time as a mentor for this program, and she is generously volunteering her time to be here with us today to share her incredible story. Dr. E, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Anna, for your wonderful introduction. Yeah, here's like really great. It feels like it's not me and then kind of other woman who achieved a lot. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. I don't know if kind of works well or not. Yeah, if you can see, let me know.
Yes, it looks great.
It worked. Yeah. I think everybody remember a month ago we have a kind of historical launch of the Dragon capsule, and then I made this kind of comparison between two is my small little capsule and a very roomy and then futuristic Dragon capsule interior photo, and also launch pad is a little bit different, and then kind of mood is also different. Of course, it's difference between the Russian and American space program. And also, I was kind of shocked because recent 10, 20 years, technology development was incredible. Because when I prepare my own launch, most of the technology was not that different from the 1980 or 1970. Of course, it's different from the 1960 Yuri Gagarin's launch because we have a different capsule. And at the time, we don't have a good computer. And yeah, many of things are wired. We don't have any kind of wireless technology around the 60 and 70. But we have a small little bit of the wireless and then kind of touching high technology around the 2000, but not that much. But when I watched the Dragon capsule launch, and I realized that I feel like I'm in a history book and then people's live in a current time, because everything's so changed and a lot of things are so well developed. When I talked with my space flight, most of the astronauts who flew 1970 and 80, they had a quite similar experience with me. So I don't feel like I'm kind of new generation or I'm kind of different kind of generation person. But when I watched the Dragon launch, kind of sit back on my couch and watching the TV, and I thought like, wow, I cannot be the representative of them because their technology and their things are totally different. And then I realized that instead of I don't know if you can see or not, but I have paper manuals on my hands during my launch 2008. But as you see that in Dragon Capsule, they have a huge displays and they have a kind of iPad like a manual on their own hands. They don't have to carry the book of the manuals with them. Even if 40, 50 years from the first astronauts fly until my flight is the same, but after that, it is totally different. And nowadays they have a 24/7 internet and they have all the station manuals kind of digital display. And then wow, that's really interesting, and that's so fortunate I can witness all those technology development. I think most of the audience here, they cannot understand what's going on during my launch because already 12 years ago. But yeah, that was most interesting part of mine. And of course, if you see the launch pad on the bottom line, and of course, American launch pad, they always have a kind of hallway from the tower to the rocket, even not only with the Dragon, but also other launch. But Russian one, they always packed together in a launch pad, and we have elevator also this side, and we have everything. We don't have to go kind of move it like a hallway until go to the capsule. So that is also quite interesting point of view of mine. And as you see that my selection process is back 2006, maybe some of audience even not born yet at the time. Yeah, it's a little bit kind of a former thing. But in Korea, until then, we don't have any astronaut at all. So when I grew up from the primary school, middle school, high school, I even cannot dream to be an astronaut, unfortunately, because in my own country, we don't have any astronaut. Until my college, we don't have even space program. So it's really hard to be realistic, to be an astronaut, to go to the space, to have a technology from the satellite, all those kind of things as the underdevelopment countries person. But of course, around the 1990 and 2000, Korea has a huge development, and now we are a little bit up to date. But when I was in child, it's really hard. So once I visited US and in other countries, sometimes I feel so jealousy because even small little kids, they can watch the NASA TV and they can dream to be an astronaut. So in some point, I sometimes tell the pupils and students, my mentee, like, you know what, that is also even fortunate you can dream about something. Because if you live in some underprivileged area or some kind of country, you even cannot dream about something because you've never heard, you've never watched it. Even around nowadays, everybody has an internet, but you cannot believe it. It's really hard to believe it still. Kind of more than 1/3 of the population on the earth, they cannot have internet. They cannot watch whatever they want as we do every day. So we are living in a really fortunate area and a fortunate era to witness everything and to get all the technology benefit, I can tell you. Yeah, I was the person like that. But when I was in PhD program, I just accidentally read the newspaper article because at the time I was not a newspaper reader, but accidentally I read, and then Korean government announced that we will have at least one astronaut in the future. And we will have a selection process from the 2006. And when I read the article, it was around the end of 2005. And then I was a little bit skeptical because many of the government, they always announce something really big and incredible, but sometimes they cannot make it. So most of my friends said, maybe, maybe not. And then we cannot be sure if they really do or not. But that was keep in my mind. I don't know why, but I just keep thinking about it. Only 2006. And finally, we have a big, huge announcement. Application is open. And then one of my friends ran to me, Soyeon, astronaut application is open. And oh, really? I don't think it will really happen, but it is really happen. And everybody just look at me and say, you said you want to apply, but it was really kind of slight joke. And I just thought like, maybe I can apply. But when I read the application process with my own eyes, and I thought like, should I apply really? And then I thought, yeah, almost end of my academic life, almost end of my school life. Maybe I can challenge one thing. Maybe I can try one thing before getting my job, before having my boring life started. I feel like I have a most dynamic life in my PhD because, yeah, partially because PhD process is really hard. And also partially because my financial state was not that good because I always should fight against the scholarships and then all the payment and bills, and I don't have a stable income. Most of my friends who just got a job right after college, they live their stable life, but I'm not yet, and I'm still a student, even late 20. So quite dynamic, but as I look back, it was also fun, and it was also fortunate and very grateful to have that kind of time. And I feel like that might be the last challenge during my dynamic lifetime. So I applied and write down the essays and upload my transcription, all the transcription, and then background checks and everything. And that was kind of like my first online submission something, because until that time, early 2000, we don't have that many internet things happen. Barely we have emails, but not that many things happen on the internet like that. But I believe there was a 36,000 applicant. That's only because we got an application submitted through the online. If we should submit paper or something like that, maybe we cannot have a 36,000 people that much. But anyway, when I see those 36,000 applicants, my first thought is maybe I cannot make it because too many. And how can I beat all those 36,000 people? Yeah, regardless how smart they are, how intelligent they are, it's too many number. And to be the final is even less than 0.1%. As an engineer, you shouldn't try that low probability. That's the thing I learned from my engineering school. So all my friends said that as an engineer, you shouldn't try. But as a human who really want to try something, maybe we can try, even if less than 0.01% or something. And my goal was, because I should have a humble, but it's not that humble also. But anyway, I should have a realistic goal setting. So my goal was 300. So 300 out of 36,000 is still less than 1% chance. So if I can make a 300 out of 36,000, maybe that makes me so proud of myself and confident. So that was my goal. And when I heard I was in the 245 applicant who survived, and then that was so happy because it means I make my goal. And all my friends are so excited. And I thought like from now, it's a bonus. Whenever I will eliminate it, whenever I fail to be an astronaut, it's good enough because I made my goal. And in the same time, I thought like there should be some kind of good fit to be an astronaut. Some part of the skills and characteristic, maybe I can do my best to make it as an effort. But some kind of characteristic or physical condition, maybe something I cannot make it. Maybe somebody should be born like that. Maybe somebody should be healthy even before apply. Maybe somebody has a kind of special trait to be that. So one of my thought is, if I became a final one, even if I'm not a good fit, that will be the kind of miserable. So I just feel like rather than make my own effort to be the final, I just let myself given. So just try myself if I'm a good fit for an astronaut or not. I don't want to make anything on purpose or squeeze myself in some awkward place, because that's not good, not only for myself, but also for the astronaut program of the Korean government, because they really want to find the perfect fit or best fit for an astronaut as the first Korean historical astronaut in our history. So yeah, I was quite laid back and relaxing from the 30 people, because I just want to test myself as a medical check, annual medical check. If I'm good, that's good. If I'm not good, maybe I can think about how I can be better, how I can improve my health. That's kind of thing. You really want to see what exactly your positions and status and condition it is. So that's my thing. But you know what? That is one of the secret recipe to be the final also, because many of the people are so nervous to be the final. Many of people kind of squeeze themselves in an awkward position to look like best fit, even if they are not best. And I just let myself out, and then, yeah, I'm not good at this, but I'm good at this. And I cannot be sure about this trait, but I can make it up with this. And sometimes some people ask me some question and I realize that I'm not good at that. And I said, I don't know exactly, but if I were in that situation, I might try in that way. So all those kind of things make me kind of relax. And some of the committee members even come to me privately and then ask me, what makes you feel that comfortable even in this stressful situation? And I told her, yeah, directly, yeah, if I'm not a good candidate for an astronaut, I better eliminate it rather than be the final. That's the good for both of us. So I just want to express myself as I am authentically. And then she just smiled at me. And after all these things happened, after all my flights gone, and then came back, and 4-5 years later on my flight, and I met her kind of accidentally in some conference, and she just came to me, can you remember me? And I said, oh, maybe you are kind of familiar. And then she said, I was the one of the committee member of the astronaut selection. Oh, yeah, we talked. And she said that, you know what, among the committee member, we had a debating, because some of the committee members are suspicious about, does she really want to be an astronaut? She's too laid back. And she really want to fight against the others, and she really want to be the brave astronaut, and they just wondering about that. But some of the people, some of the committee members said, we needed that kind of person because astronauts should face every single moment unexpected situation, and then sometimes they should face some really stressful situation. But astronauts should be the calm and follow the manual, follow the regulation. We needed that kind of person, even in this challenging and stressful situation. Look at her; she's so laid back. And so they just debating. So one of the committee members came to me and then check it out if I really want to be an astronaut and then apply for that or not. And then they just want to check why I became so laid back. But on top of that, most of the rest two series of the path from the November 2006 and until the December 2006, all of the testing and training and selection was done in my own school, KAIST, Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. And it's kind of like a homegrown advantage because Korea's space agency right next to door of my school, and they really need a big, huge auditorium and classroom and lab, but they don't have their own for the selection, astronaut selection. But school has a huge facility, so they just kind of borrow some facility to have an astronaut selection. So not that many people apply from my school, and it's me and some of the students, they feel so comfortable to compete with other people in their own home ground. And then some of people take the train all the way in the morning, make to the 9-10 a.m. in that city. But my case, I just wake up 8:30 a.m. and then biking, come to the, as I do every day, I just riding the bike and then come to the interview place and lab place to have a selection process. That also make me so relaxing and comfortable. So yeah, that was a really interesting takeaway from me. Whatever serious, whatever stressful, whatever things you really want to make it, sometimes you need it to be calm and think yourself as a third person and look at you as a third person. And then what if you are the committee? What if you are the interviewer? What if you are the person who look at you and meet you and talk with you? And that always help you to behave right way and think yourself better and kind of evaluate and judge yourself as a third person, sometimes help you to develop in better way and kind of thing. But of course, you don't have to always think in that way because you should be yourself always. But in that selection process, that was really fun for me. And until I made a 245, that helps me a lot to be proud of myself, because during my PhD program, I feel a little bit less confident because all my experiment was fail. My PhD thesis was not that clear, and I was not I cannot be sure if I can get a PhD degree or not until then. And then I felt like I'm one of the biggest loser in the world because everything's not that clear. And then sometimes my advisor told me, "Oh, I'm so disappointing. I thought you were kind of a smart person, but you are not that much, because your experiment, your projects, is going totally nowhere." And that made me so kind of depressed. But during this process, even before making final 30 or 10, I realized that, oh my God, if I can make a 300 out of 36,000, it means I have some good thing. I'm kind of better person than I expect or than I thought before. And yeah, at that time I thought like, regardless if I became a final or not, I feel so grateful to be in this selection process. I was so grateful to meet a lot of wonderful person in the way. And some of the candidates, they cannot meet any person because they are just focused on, I should be the best, I should be the final. But my case is, I just thought like I will be failed already. Even if I'm not eliminated yet, I was so sure that maybe I cannot make 30, maybe I cannot make 10. That what I can take away from this situation. So I met a lot of people and talk with them, learn from them as much as possible. Even if I cannot make final, I really want to take something, even if it's intangible, from this process. So whatever program you attend, whatever things you tried, the kind of visible result is not a big deal. Of course, that is the big deal, but it's not everything. So you can think about what I can take away from this situation, what I can learn, and what I can earn, even if it's not the final result. You can have a lot of small little result and small little success from on the way in the process. So that is the things I learned from my selection process. And thanks to be the final two in the 2006 Christmas Day, it was the final. And 2007 April, I went to the Russia, to the Yuri Gagarin Training Center and started my training. Most hardest part is the learning Russian, because when I have a flight, official language is not only English but also Russian. So we should learn Russian. I even couldn't have a Russian alphabet during that time, but I should learn. So that was also interesting and also tough. And during my training, I feel like I became a 2-3 years old kid back, because I should learn how to use the toilet. I should learn how to eat. I should learn how to get the water from the pump. That's pretty much something you learn from your 3-4 years old time. But as an adult who is almost 30 years old, it's really, really hard to concentrate every single process because you are totally confused. You already know how to do that. But in space, you have a totally different environment. You should be 30-year-old kids to learn every single basic, not to make a mistake. So from my brain, I understand why instructor explain every single step as he teach 3-year-old kid. But some of the people, they don't want to be treated like a 3-5-year-old kids as a successful adult. So it's really debating inside of mine, and then my kind of regional logical brain and some emotional human brain, they just fight against each other. So yeah, you are the 29 years old and you know how to eat, you know how to use a toilet. Why I should learn how to use a toilet even in that age? But in some point, as an engineer, yeah, Soyeon, if you be in a space, every single thing is a totally different because of the zero gravity. So you should learn every single step by step as an engineer to use the new machine. And then that was really interesting, my inside body and then mental process. And that was really wonderful also. And of course, not only way to live and doing the experiment, doing the mission, but also we should be prepared for the emergency situation, unexpected situation, was something you would never imagine as a job of an astronaut. First of all, how to use the TV camera, how to make a video. You cannot think of that as a part of job of an astronaut, but as you watch the YouTube and NASA TV, we cannot send the producer, we cannot send the cameraman in the space. So all the things done by astronaut, and we should learn how to make it kind of visible, how to make it more useful, and how to make it better shows or better learning for the audience. And of course, you can easily estimate and then expect that we should learn worst case of scenario. What happened if we have a fire inside? What happened we have a depressurization during the flight? And that is also one of the part of training. And of course, during the launch or during the re-entry, we could have a big, huge opportunity. No, not big, huge. It's not, yeah. But even if it's a lower probability, really low probability, we might land on the sea or we might land on the emergency situation. Of course, I don't know, yeah, Apollo capsule was landed on the sea. So many of the people who watching the Apollo related movie, you could see that capsule landed on the sea, but Russian capsule like this, and that is designed to land on the Kazakhstan plain on the ground. But why we had a training like that? During the launch, if we have a problem or some kind of like explosion, it's easy to be shoot to the Pacific Ocean or some kind of ocean around the Kazakhstan. So that is the really, really emergency situation. So we should have a training like that. So we went to the Black Sea, and then our capsule is kind of almost like a real situation, just throw away in the sea. And then we should get out of the capsule, wear the water suit and floating on the sea, waiting for the helicopter. And all those kind of process was prepared. And we had mountain survival also, because what if we landed in the middle of the Siberia or somewhere in the middle of the mountain? Yeah, if we miss the target. So those training was also kind of tough, but in the same time interesting, because it's a one time in a lifetime chance to experience that unique thing. And also some part I just wonder and suspicious, even with this good condition of my physical status, it's really tough. But what if I do this kind of situation after my space flight? Because right after space flight, it's really hard to stand up and hard to walk by yourself. But if we just thrown on the sea and change all the spacesuit and put on the water suit and get out of the sea and then floating on the sea several hours until the helicopter came, it might be really hard. So me and some of our astronauts asked the instructor, you know what, if this really happened after our re-entry, we don't have a good physical status, and how can we do this even with the healthy status and really perfect body? It's really tough for us. And then instructor told me, like, you know what, if you face this situation without training at all, then can you make it? But at least, even if you don't have a good physical condition, if you know how to do, you can at least try it. You can at least push yourself to survive. And then, yeah, maybe that makes sense. But at that time also I pray and then hope we will not have that situation. And still remember the moment when I had a launch. It was the 2008 April 8th, and afternoon 5-6 p.m. in Kazakhstan, around 8 p.m. in Korea, and maybe it might be in the middle of the night in US. But anyway, that moment was really incredible. You can see that my right hand was held by the first female astronaut in the world, Valentina Tereshkova. She held my hands and then she take me and escort me from the bus to the launch pad elevator. And I was so excited to go to the space, and also I was so excited to surrounded by the space hero in Russia. Right behind her, we have first astronaut who had an EVA in the world the first time, and then he was almost my grandfather in Russia, and they just escorted me over there. It was a huge honor and then great. But I've never seen their face until I get back, because I was excited, as you see that, and I just walked to the elevator, and of course, I agreed with her, and Valentina keep telling me, don't worry about it, everything will go well. Don't worry about it, everything will be okay. And she keep talking to me. I can hear her voice, but I don't know why, but I cannot remember I saw her face. But I got this photo from my friends, and she gave me, and then I was almost cried, and I almost kind of touched it because of her face. And her face is not that happy. She's not smile at all. And some of my close friends that maybe she doesn't like you to fly. And then I told, she was so happy that I will fly because first Korean astronaut was the female, and then originally she was not the person to supposed to be here. We have all list of the people who came to our launch, and she was not originally in the list. But once I became a primary crew, once they knew that first Korean astronaut is a female, and she changed her whole schedule, and then she just came to the Kazakhstan. I knew that she just treated me so specially, but her face is almost sad. It's so kind of sad. But that's exactly same face of my mom on that day in that place. Of course, she cannot come here. My mom cannot come here because it's a very restricted area because of the security. So my mom should be the observatory tower and over there. And I have several photos of her. She has exactly same face of this woman because they are worried. They are so concerned about me. They know it's not 100% safe. It's safe, of course, 99.999%, but just a little bit of the uncertainty, they always make our moms and grandmas and fathers worried. So it is almost like a first space camp of your life when you are 5 years old kid or a 7-year-old kid, and then you are so excited to go to the space camp, but your mom driving for you and let you get out of the car and then wave her hands, and then she just start worrying. Will my boys can do well? Will my girl will do well? And is it okay? Let her go from me for a certain time or several days, and then moms and dads start worrying, and then unlimitedly, never stop. So I can see her face in this photo. Oh my gosh, she worried about me, and then she acted exactly like my mom and grandma, and then that makes me connect with the Valentina Tereshkova even close because she's the world hero and first astronaut in the world. But she's also a person who worried about their family. She's also a person who just concerned about their kids and daughter. And she's also kind of mom of some little girl and grandma of some little girl. So astronaut is not the special person. They are same human. That's the things I learned from this photo, and that makes me cry when I this for the first time after my space flight. And thanks to her wonderful escort, I launched from the Kazakhstan and went to the space station. And my mission was mainly about 18 different kinds of the science experiment. So 14 of them is from the professional institution and engineering school and government national laboratory. And 4 of them is from the science textbook from the primary school, middle school, and high school. And that is included in a national textbook in Korea after my flight. So most of people expect that first 3 law of the role of the experiment might be even tougher and hard for me. But interestingly, those professional experiments, I just need to follow manual. I just needed to follow the protocol. I was trained for a long time to take care of all those experiments. Of course, same amount of the effort, same amount of training I had for the experiment from the textbook, but that is even more challenging and tougher because I should be a science teacher in front of the camera to take care of during the taking care of this experiment. And I should speak to the primary school student, middle school student, high school student, even if I've never met before. Most of the other experiment, the person who asked me to do, I met them and we interact each other. We know what they really want to do. And of course, explaining science to the students younger age I've never done before. Of course, nowadays I do a lot, but until then, I've never done before. I always interact with most of the PhD student and kind of professor and scientist. So I'm kind of good to do that, but I'm not good to even explain some little thing to my nephew and niece, 5, 6 years old kids. It's really, really hard to teach or explain something. So I don't want to make a mistake, and I don't want to be embarrassed after came back. So I think I spend a lot of my energy and effort to make this science textbook experiment better than others. Of course, every single experiment is really important for every single person, but that is much more kind of mentally tough than others. Of course, Korean people cannot live without a kimchi. So we made a space kimchi. It was especially researched by the Korean government food and chemistry research facility. They developed very well, and we have two different kinds of kimchi. One is a canned one, so if you just open it, you can eat it, and another one is a freeze dried one. So you should put the hot water and then shake it, and you can eat it. It's so hot and spicy, and not only myself, but also all those American astronauts loves it, because when you are in the space, you have a puffy face, your appetite is really go low, and you don't feel like to eat because it's a little bit tired, and then you have a high blood pressure on your head, and then whole face is fluffy. So almost like when you have a sick, and then when you have a cold, and then your face is fluffy and you don't have a good appetite, right? Even if we are not a sick in space, because of the motion sickness, you throw up often very early stage, and also your body is a little bit puffy, so you don't have a good appetite. But when you have a little bit salty and hot and spicy food, you feel more like to eat. So they like the Korean pepper sauce and kimchi. So I was so happy to share my Korean food with the other astronaut in the space. Most of the people are wondering about the toilet and restroom in space. On the right side, you can see the station toilet, and on the left side, you can see the Soyuz capsule toilet. It's really small and a little bit different, but you should work always with a vacuum pump, because they should suck all the airs and kind of waste to the tank. So when I learn about this also, it feels so kind of funny and a little bit awkward, because as a 29, 30 years old person should learn how to use a toilet. That's a really interesting part. And sleeping, as you see that, my friends, yeah, Christopher and Dan Tanny, they're using the sleeping bag. And we don't have to lay down like that. We don't have to kind of lean, because anyway, you're just floating around. So you just tie sleeping bag on the wall tightly, and you just getting into the sleeping bag and zip up, and you will sleep. But first several days, it's really hard to have a deep sleep, because you keep moving and floating, and you can wake up yourself with your own arms movement, your own body movement. But after several days, you adapt with this environment, so you can sleep well inside of the sleeping bag. But my case is I'm not a deep sleeper. I'm kind of so sensitive during the sleeping, so I couldn't sleep more than 2 hours straight. So I just wake up every an hour and wake up again and sleep again. Even if my manual said I should sleep 8 hours, but I cannot sleep until 8 hours because I keep waking up. So in general, I sleep for 5 hours, and rest of time I just watch the window, down to earth, and there's a lot of things you can do if you cannot sleep. And in zero gravity, you have a huge privilege with the floating. So I can have a meditation like that as a Chinese master in the middle of the air. And I was a taekwondo player. One of my biggest dream is to have a flying kick, like action movie stars. I try it. Regardless if you learn any martial art or not, in space you can do that. And of course, as a representative of Korea, we have a lot of national activity and cultural activity. And during my flight, it was grateful to have a Korean person was the UN Secretary General. So he especially asked me to bring the UN flag to declare the peaceful earth, whole around the earth. So I bring this UN flag and then make the stamp from the space station and bring it back to the UN office. So you could see this flag in New York UN headquarters because it's just framed and on there. And when I visited after my flight, it was so kind of honored and grateful. And every single astronaut, as a person who looked down to the earth from the space, we always have a huge responsibility on our shoulder. How can we help earth to be more peaceful? Around this time, not only in this country in US, but also out of the country, whole around the earth, a lot of conflict and hard time is going on. And we realize that earth is really beautiful, but in the same time, it's fragile. And a lot of animals and lives are living together. So we really hope we can live together as a family, as a unite of the one, rather than conflict each other and separated each other. So yeah, astronaut always, as the kind of union of astronaut, we always thinking about how we can help them more and effectively. As I told you, if I cannot sleep well, I always come to the window, and sometimes I just look through the window right next to my sleeping bag. Luckily, my sleeping location was right next to the window, so open the shutter and look down to the earth. And sometimes I fly to the big, huge window area and then look down to the earth and look up to the moon, down to the earth. Of course, as always, it's really beautiful. As you see that whole earth, it is a really interesting moment because you know how earth looks like. You know how earth shaped like that. You know that place is the desert, that place is the forest, that place is the ocean. You already know because you have a Google map, you have a YouTube, you have a kind of ISS photo in the NASA website. You already know. But if you look with your own bare eyes, not as a photo, not as a TV screen, not as a computer screen, but real earth down there, it's totally different experience. And you cannot say anything. I even hold the breath when I look down earth first time. That's really something. And sometimes I have this kind of metaphor to my friends, and then some of my friends, even if I explain in this way, they said, oh, tell us more. And then how did you feel when you look down to the earth? And then I really want to know how you feel. But as far as you look down to the earth, from the space, you cannot say how it really feels like. So one day I just think of some way, and then I'm a huge fan of the Matt Damon, the movie actor. I told my friends, and then, you know what? I've never met Matt Damon in person before. But what if I met him in person right in front of me? And I can feel his breathing. I can hear his voice without any speakers and microphones, just direct to my ears. And then I can see his face direct my eyes. And that might be totally different from the watching the movie or watching the TV. On there, he is there because it's the real human kind in front of me. So think about that when you meet the first with your own hero, or when you meet first time one of your favorite celebrity. Even if you know how she looks, how he looks, how this person looks, if you see in person, it's different. So when you look down to the earth, it's same. You know how it looks, you know how beautiful it is, you know how round shape it is, but if you look in person, exactly, it is different. And you should hold your breath, and you lose all the words you can tell because you have a brain blackout and brain whiteout, because that's the huge overwhelming. That's the thing. But I cannot help to finish my presentation with sharing this little bit sad photo also, because I showed you a lot of fun and positive and kind of energetic, beautiful photo with you, but at least one photo is a little bit sad. I think it's okay. And maybe some of you living in Asia, or have you ever visited Asia, you could realize where it is. And maybe some of you are from Korea, you definitely know where it is. And upper left side here is Seoul, Korea. Yeah. And of course, this photo's direction is a little bit awkward, but this right side is the North Korea. So you can see that whole South Korea is kind of shiny and then bright, but North Korean part is really total black. So nowadays, developed country, any kind of average countries, their night is so bright because they have electricity, they have a street light, they have a light bulb in their own home. So you cannot have a total black place. If you go to in the middle of the Mojave Desert, or if you go to in the middle of the kind of Mongolian plain or Kazakhstan plain, of course, they don't have a street light, so it's a total black. So you can see beautiful stars on the night sky. But most of the metropolitan area or even rural area, if you have a kind of neighborhood or residence, you have a street light, so you don't have a dark, black, night sky anymore. So those left side is quite common everywhere. You have a light at night. But right side is not that common. It's really hard to have that kind of place nowadays. But sadly, they have right now because they don't have a good infrastructure. They don't have electricity. Of course, I'm not a huge fan of the North Korea, but I feel so bad about the kids and victim of the bad leaderships of the people because it's not their choice. Thinking about where were you born? So where did you born? If I ask you in person, where were you born? And who's your parents? Did you really choose? Did you really select? As I apply for an astronaut, as you apply for your college, as you attend your schools, that is your choice. But where you're born, who's your parents, where's the region you just grew up, mostly it's not your choice. So when I look down to the earth in this moment at nighttime, it makes me so sad and also makes me so fortunate. So what if I were born right side rather than left side? Can I go to the engineering school? Can I take the Ph.D. program? Can I be an engineer? I cannot be sure because when I help North Korean children and patients, a lot of kids cannot go to the school. A lot of kids cannot feed themselves either because their systems are not that good enough. Their systems are not that support. Yeah. And they just wandering around. They just grab anything to eat. And then that's really sad because it's not their choice. So I hate the leadership, but I cannot hate the people who victimize over there. And as an astronaut, oh my God, what can I do for them? Those innocent people who just were born there without having any choice. And in the same time, how fortunately my life is. All my life, I always complain about something. And why my country is like this? Why my school is not that good? Why my friends' parents are so kind of rich, but my parents is not that kind of well off? And a lot of complaint I had. And why my desk is not that good? Why my phone is a little bit kind of outdated, even if my friends has a very updated new model of the phone. And then why my TV screens are small, even if my friends has a big, huge screens. And why my schools are not that supportive, even if my friend's school has a better football team, better soccer team, or a better STEM program. But why? We keep asking about why when you have some negative thing. But in the same time, we should think about why in positive thing also. Why I could be born in a better place than the other students in opposite side of the world. We don't have answer. Yeah, it just happened. So why I can go to the hospital, but the person who has really sick in North Korea, they cannot go to the hospital also. And then I helped one doctor who taking care of the North Korean patient, and then she even sick, but she cannot have their own her own medication because the whole medication in their own country is a shortage. So I was so shocked because my common sense is doctors should have always medicine for their patient, but even doctor cannot take by herself for her own sickness, and that's really huge impact for me. So what I want to tell you is you don't have to think about huge responsibility to help others, but at least we can be grateful for something we already have. And when I look down to this situation, I realized that how grateful my life it is, how much I already have, even if I keep complaining about what I cannot have yet. And if you complain about your school, it means you have a school. If you have some kind of mad time or so upset because of your mom's whining kind of thing, it means you have mom. And if you have some bad situation over your city or country, or if you have some kind of unsatisfied thing of your computer or laptop or house or your room, or if you should share the room with your siblings, it means you have house and you have room also. And at the time I realized that, oh my God, if I complain something, it means I have something. If I don't have at all, I cannot even complain. So think about it. You can complain that, oh my God, these guys became an astronaut and fly to the space, but why I cannot do that? It means your country has an astronaut. When I was a college student in my own country, I even cannot complain about that because no one in Korea never flown to the space. So that kind of aspect is, I hope, help you to think more positively. And then rather than complain, let's feel grateful more. And let's try to find something you feel grateful more. Thank God I have a tissue to blow my nose. You would never think about that, but some people cannot have one at all for their whole life. Thank God my toilet is so dirty. I don't want to clean my toilet, but you cannot believe it, but it is really. When I went to the Mongolia, when I went to the other place to as a volunteer, they don't have toilet at all for whole their life. So that's really interesting aspect. And I don't know if it works or not, and hopefully you can hear that. Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. And the rose on my head. In other words, darling, kiss me. Yeah, this is my last night of the space flight. So we had some kind of a farewell party because three of us should go down to the Earth, and three of them should stay over there. Someone more 3 months, someone more 6 months, and then we had a party. And some of my friends said, "So yeah, you should sing because you said you want to sing in a space." So I sang my favorite song, "Fly Me to the Moon." Yeah, even before becoming an astronaut, "Fly Me to the Moon" was my favorite song, and then sing, and we had a wonderful time. Why I share this movie is, yeah, living in space is, of course, it's different from the living on the Earth, but in same time, it's pretty much the same because it's the life human live. All the astronaut is the human before being an astronaut. So we talk about a family. Sometimes we talk bad about their government or program. Sometimes they feel appreciated about something great. And you can see there's some kind of religious painting over there. We have a really messy wires around, and then still somebody's working with a laptop. It's pretty much the same as you have a small little house party at your home and somebody's singing and someone prepared their coffee after the kind of meal, and everybody smile to talk about that and then farewell each other. And that's pretty much the life in space. And of course you have my ponytails are floating above my head because of the zero gravity. Yeah, that's pretty much what I want to talk today, and then hopefully you can enjoy my spaceflight story. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. E. That was fantastic. Thank you. We do have a couple minutes here for questions. So if you have any questions, this is your chance to submit them as we're just winding down for the final moments. While those questions filter in, I do have one question for you.
Okay.
That is, what advice do you have for young people, especially young women who come from countries without a space program and who aspire to become an astronaut like you?
Okay, yeah, I have one kind of clear answer for everybody, not only women, but also guy, and then who wanna be anything, not only an astronaut, but also any your dream, do your best what you are doing right now. Do your best where you are right now is the first. So you know what? Most of the astronauts I've met, they are the person who do their best, whatever they should do. Not only for the training, but also their own family life, but also their own private things or their own academic life. So think about it. Does it make sense the person who are not good at their school life or their daily chore, who can become an astronaut? Yeah, the person who doesn't want to fold their own laundry, the person who doesn't want to make their own bed after they're sleeping, do you think they deserve to be an astronaut? Because some people just want to do something big and they just ignore a small little chore. I don't think that's the good attitude. So whatever you have right now in your own hands, that's the thing you should do your best to make it better. And step by step, and finally you realize that you make your own dreams come true. So yeah, I also was students who is not that kind of mature at the time, and then yeah, I want to be an engineer in the world. I want to be the best engineer in the world. I want to make a best DNA separating machine in the world, and then that's my big huge thing. But sometimes my advisor asked me to copy some document, and then sometimes my lab kind of senior asked me to clean the clean rooms and lab, and then arrange some lab machines, and then oh, I didn't come here for cleaning the lab. I didn't come here arrange the lab machine. I just want to make a huge machines and make a robot, make a kind of groundbreaking the scientific thing, but you cannot do that with the skipping this. So that's my first advice is do your best, whatever you do right now, whatever you needed to do or should do, and then you can find a better one. And finally, even if you cannot recognize it, but you found yourself, oh my God, where am I? I made it. Yeah, that's the thing.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm going to call on one of our attendees who's raised their hand. I saw the hand first of Haley. So Haley, you can go ahead and unmute and ask Astronaut E your question now.
So what does it sound like up there? I mean, I know it's like there's no air up there. Well, obviously this is space, so there's air, right? But like, what does it sound like? Does it sound like silence? Is it like a hot air balloon kind of going up?
Yeah, that's a really good and interesting question. You know what? Many that's really interesting because several years ago we have first space tourists who visited a space station. They claimed that space station is so noisy. And then we were so surprised, and a space station is that noisy, but I've never think it's noisy. And many of the astronauts couldn't think it's noisy because half of astronaut is from the pilot and another half of astronaut from the engineer or scientist. And all of us are so accustomed to have a noise because pilot, they are always surrounded by the big, huge engine sound and airport and then takeoff and landing of airplanes. So they always have a huge sounds around them. So space station, even if we always have a fans going and machines running, so all whooping sound and machine sound like when you are in the airplane. When you fly in an airplane, you have a lot of machine sound and fan sound, right? Even more than that in space station. But we would never think it's noisy because as an engineer myself also, I always work in the laboratory. We always have a fan going, machine going, woo, and kind of sound. At some point, all those sounds gone, you should be so worried. It means some really important machine is not working, make you in the dangerous situation. So we should welcome that noise. But some of the tourists who always work in the office and never been in the kind of laboratory, not never, but not often working in a laboratory, not often working in an airport, they feel like it's so noisy because hundreds of the fans should working to make the airflow. and you should breathe. Even if oxygen making machine generating the oxygen, if the air doesn't flow around, you cannot breathe with the oxygen. So we always have a fan. Of course, as you think, and yeah, there's the oxygen machine keep making oxygen. Why you should make air go around? Because there's no gravity, your air doesn't go around. So you forcefully make air going around. And also carbon dioxide remover and water filters and everything should work with a pump and with a fan. So being in a space station is kind of noisy, even if I couldn't recognize it. And outside of that, I don't know, because I've never been outside. And even if as a EVA activity, they are surrounded by the big, huge spacesuit, and they should have a fan inside to make air circulation and water circulation for the temperature. So I believe they also have a noisy inside of the EVA suit. So if you can hear the really silence of the space, you cannot do that as live. So right after you expose to the vacuum air, you will be killed. So you cannot hear that sounds. But anyway, inside of the space station, a lot of sounds going on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And unfortunately, that is all the questions we have time for today. So thank you for sharing with us that incredible story. You're an amazing person, and I really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. And then please stay safe. And hopefully we can meet in person in the future.
Thank you. I would love that. Thank you so much.
Bye.
So as we did mention, we do have folks from all over the world joining us right now. And I was excited to get in contact with some of our folks in Antarctica. And so we have, as I mentioned in the beginning, all 7 continents represented. And so before we sign off, we just have a special greeting message from the South Pole. So Antarctica researchers, are you online?
Hi, yes, we are, and we're happy to be here.
Awesome, thanks so much. I think your video is turned off. Let me see if I can send a message to start that for us. It looks like I cannot start the video for me, but if you want to go ahead and enable it on your end, that would be great.
Hi, there we are. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, hey, hi, we're happy to be here.
Awesome, great. If you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves real quick and tell us who you are and where you're calling in from today.
Hi, I'm John, and we're calling in from the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station, and we're working on the IceCube Neutrino Observatory.
Awesome. What is IceCube?
So, real briefly, IceCube is a cubic kilometer of ice that we're using to look for astrophysical neutrinos, which is a completely different kind of particle from photons, from how we usually look at space.
Amazing. Thank you. And so you're down there right now. Is it winter time in Antarctica while you're there now?
Yes, it is. It's summer there, the height of summer there, so it's the height of winter here.
Right, right. That must be a pretty hostile environment.
Yeah, right now it's, I think, minus 80 or so outside. The wind chills get down to minus 100, minus 120.
Wow.
It's pretty cold.
Well, thank you for joining us for today's conference. May I ask, what time is it at the South Pole?
Right now it's about 8 a.m.
Gotcha.
We're on New Zealand time.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. I just wanted to have you guys say hello, since I think you might win for being furthest away from today's event. And just thought it would be really interesting to share with folks some of the awesome research that you guys are doing down there. So thank you for jumping in for the call. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you both so much, John and Yuya. Awesome. Well, with that, everybody, we are at just 4 o'clock, so I am going to go ahead and officially conclude today's SciAccess conference. I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to engage in this global conversation. And to all the students in our audience, I want you to know that not only is there room for you in STEM, there is a need for you. We have so many mysteries in this universe still waiting to be unlocked, and the key is diverse young thinkers just like you who have the courage to seek new answers. Maybe you'll follow in Astronaut Yi's footsteps and break through new ground in the world of space exploration. Maybe you'll be like our speaker, Dr. Sukai, and tear down barriers in the world of biomedical research. Or maybe you'll be like Sinai and create new connections for members of your communities. Or maybe you'll be like John and Yuya, who just joined us from the South Pole, working on unlocking astronomical mysteries using detectors buried deep within Antarctic ice. Whatever path you choose, know that there are mentors, resources, and programs around the world in place to support you and help you realize those goals. It has been an immense honor to share this day with all of you. When I close out today's Zoom call, a survey will automatically open in your browser. We ask that you please take a few minutes to submit your feedback so that we can continue improving our events for the future. As I mentioned earlier, we also have the SciAccess Facebook group in order to stay connected with other fellow attendees, and I'll reshare that link in the chat now. And if you are interested in being one of our working group members and working on collaborations with others around the world to make science more inclusive, please feel free to email me here at the email address I just dropped in the chat to connect and to be able to work together after today's event. For those of you who still want to continue the conversation, I am happy to announce that there's one more opportunity for you this evening, or this whatever time it is in your part of the world. We do now have 4 different chat rooms available for you to join and continue conversing until 5 o'clock. So about an hour, it's an hour-long event. There are 4 different options: neurodiversity, mobility access, deaf, hard of hearing access, and blind vision impairment access. If you'd like to join any of these rooms, please refer to the links sent out in the schedule. I'll also share them now in the chat for your reference. Unlike the conference where it's just the panelists with video, this is actually structured so that everyone can have video and audio access. In order to help keep things organized, we do ask that you please keep your microphones on mute during the call and use the raise hand function. The different hosts for each room will then see whose hand is raised and use that to call on folks to contribute their ideas. Before I close today's meeting, does anyone have any final logistics questions about the social room chats? If so, please submit it in the Q&A now. One final question I see: will we provide our certificate of attendance? Yes, but only upon request. So if you require a certificate of attendance for teacher continuing education or for any other purpose, please email me at volker.30@osu.edu, and I can provide a personalized certificate to represent the hours you spent here learning with us today. Great question. Fantastic. Well, if there's no more, I want to thank you all again so much for joining us at SciAccess 2020. And I hope that some of you can join our social rooms, which I'm going to go ahead and activate as soon as I end today's call. I hope you all stay safe and continue to learn well past today's event. Thank you so much.